The story begins with Davis and Rods, two DEA officers who are about to enter a somewhat dangerous area. The information they receive tells them that there is a trailer in the middle of the desert where methamphetamines are being prepared, a job they are used to since that famous series exposed the traffickers. Leave in the comments the name if you watched it. Davey takes a moment to talk about family while Rods keeps watch from a distance at the trailer. At that moment, Davis takes the opportunity to gift his friend a watch, a small moment to commemorate the years they've been putting criminals behind bars. After this tender moment, it's time to earn their paycheck. The two officers approach the trailer and surround it, but upon entering, it is completely empty. The place is full of equipment to manufacture the drug, but there is no one using them. And judging by how dirty the place is, the equipment may have only been there for several days. They let their guard down and prepare to notify headquarters so they can send the appropriate teams to resolve the situation. At that moment, two traffickers emerge from the floor of the trailer where they had been hiding since they heard the officers approaching. The shootout begins, and Rod manages to find cover, and with a quick movement, eliminates one. Davis, who is gravely injured, manages to gain a few seconds to allow his friend to eliminate another. After the bullets stop, Rods reviews the area and manages to find the leader, who, while trying to grab a weapon, ends up subdued. The problem is that this one does not plan to spend the rest of his life in prison and has a hidden knife. He stabs Rods in the abdomen and manages to take his weapon for a few seconds. The man mocks the officers, even stealing Rod's wallet, memorizing his address and full name, and promising to pay a visit to his family. After killing him a second before the bad guy could murder our protagonist, Davis manages to pull his weapon despite his wounds and saves him. The place, which has been burning for several seconds, is a huge bomb due to all the chemicals stored inside. Rods tries to help his friend, but he does not succeed. In the end, he manages to escape before the place turns into a ball of fire. But his friend has died in the conflict. We then jump forward in time. About 4 months will be enough to overcome the loss. We are in Reno, Nevada, where a group of thieves is being chased by the police over the radio system. The officers receive the plate number and description of the car, but suddenly they are hacked and receive false information, causing them to lose the trail of the car, and the thieves escape with the loot. The culprit of the hack is a man named Gary, who is waiting in the hideout for his colleagues to arrive. Banks, the leader of the team, informs them that they have just stolen $10 million in cash and their lives are sorted. The man inside, who provided them with all the necessary information to pull off the casino robbery, is congratulated. Then he unloads the suitcases from the van and tells them that he must destroy it immediately. So he leaves, promising to return to count the money together and celebrate. However, when Dominica, the girl of the group, tries to open a bag, she finds an enormous bomb with a timer. In addition, Lawson closed the metal doors behind them when leaving, and now they are trapped with a bomb. As the team panics, Banks connects the dots and realizes that it was Leon who betrayed them. The other suitcases are empty, and this guy has all the money on him. Before he can take revenge on him, he must first deactivate the bomb, something he manages to do with a knife and tons of luck. When the telephone detonator rings, it is no longer connected to the bomb's mechanism, and Banks manages to speak with Lawson, whom he promises to kill slowly when he finds him. Lawson hangs up and steps on the accelerator. The bomb failed, and now all he can do is flee as far away as possible. Banks, who isn't as dumb as he seems, immediately tells Gary to track his access card. He had his suspicions about Leon and had hidden it in his clothes before leaving. We leave this scene of action and revenge for a moment to see what happened to Rods. He is now living a casual life in Nevada with his daughter Kim. She leaves for the mall after they have an argument, and clearly Rod's parenting skills are far from matching his fighting skills. While cleaning his weapons, he receives a call from the sheriff, who tells him that Kim was caught stealing from a store and must come to post bail at the police station. Sheriff West receives Banks and the team, who have discovered that Lawson is hiding somewhere in the woods and would like to hire a guide service to lead them through the area, claiming they are enthusiastic hunters and will pay good money for their prey. Rods arrives at the police station, and what he finds is not pleasant. It turns out that West recognized Banks. His face was faxed not long ago, but being old and slow, he couldn't do anything in time. So Banks not only took the sheriff by surprise, but also other officers. Yakim is now in charge of the place, and Rods, who just came to get his daughter out of trouble, has gotten himself involved in something much bigger. One of the bad guys tries to take Rods from behind, but he overpowers him and takes the bad guy's weapon. However, it is empty, and now Banks knows that he has talent, so he offers him a deal. Rods will help track Leon in exchange for his daughter's safety, and in the case of West, they can't risk him doing something like that, so he is a burden. Once in the forest, Kim is placed under the surveillance of Dominica. They quickly find Leon's van and the card, but now they cannot track him, and everything depends on Rod's skills. While Dominica accompanies Kim to the bathroom, a scream is heard and Rods rushes. Upon arriving, he finds Kraft, one of Banks' men, attempting to assault his daughter. Kraft hit Dominica and lunged toward Kim. Fortunately, her father was nearby to stop him. In less than 30 seconds, Rods breaks Kraft's leg in both of his hands. Kraft's screams of pain alert Banks, who is not at all happy to see that Dominica was assaulted. After learning what happened, Kraft is executed for his mistakes, and the mission continues. At nightfall, they set up camp, and Rods thinks it would be a good idea to free his daughter so she can escape. But Jensen knocks him out with a stick and wishes him good night. The next morning, the search resumes, and the team finds a map and some remnants of food. There is also an extinguished campfire. Clearly, they are on the right track, and Banks is excited at the thought that they are close to catching that damn Leon. Later on, the mosque Special Forces unit shows them something horrifying: the corpse of a man who turns out to be an old friend of Rod's. He likely ran into Lawson, and Lawson killed him, which is bad news because now, most likely, Lawson has his weapons. After a couple of hours of tracking, the team finally finds Leon, who is badly injured. Rod's friend fought well before dying. Banks hurries to interrogate him and ask about the money, but Leon mocks them and tells them that they will never find it. Furious, Dominica takes Banks' weapon and kills him. Now they don't know what to do, and Rods begins to devise a plan to get his daughter to safety. Kim manages to see a suitcase on the ledge of a waterfall, a dangerous drop that could kill someone inexperienced. Obviously, it would be Rods who would risk his life for the mission, and Kim remains detained until Banks has his money. In the end, Rods manages to recover the money and climbs back up. Unfortunately for him, as soon as Banks has the money in his hands, he shoots him and lets him fall down the hill. Later, Kim is snatched by someone who knows her father. She knows the way back, and he'd better not make a mistake, because as they set off back, Gary approaches Kim and tries to flirt with her, but when she rejects him, he gets angry and attacks her. Fortunately, Dominica's tired of seeing men beat up women. Intervening and giving the hacker a thrashing, he's hit like a child, unable to recover from the beating. Banks gets tired of his presence and knocks him out, believing that having one less man on the team is a good thing. Rods, who is obviously still alive, manages to get out of the mess despite the bullet wound in his abdomen. Shortly afterward, he finds his friend's backpack and manages to arm himself with a crossbow, but he has no arrows, so he will have to make them himself. The first to fall is Gary, who was abandoned by his team, making him an easy target, and ends up being pierced by Rod's homemade crossbow arrows. Next to fall is Jensen, who stays behind to smoke and is surprised by Rods. However, Jensen is a brutal fighter and will not be an easy target like that fool Gary. After an extensive and action-packed fight, Jensen ends up with a board lodged in his abdomen. Now only Banks and his girlfriend remain on Rods' trail. When Jensen does not respond to Banks' calls, Kim realizes that her father is still alive and coming for her. A few hours later, when they are near the Canadian border, Rods reveals himself from a high vantage point. A furious and pained Banks tries to kill Rods and chases him to a set of rocks where he falls and injures himself, but he is still alive. Banks, not willing to risk checking his death, takes Kim and forces her to take him to the border. As soon as they cross the border, they find a rescue cabin with several Red Cross officers who are in the wrong place at the wrong time since Banks pulls out his weapon and kills them all to steal one of their motorcycles and escape. Banks manages to escape on one of the motorcycles and leaves Kim behind, unconscious. Upon seeing what the villain did to his daughter, Rods takes a motorcycle and chases him through the woods. eventually catching up, but Banks hits him while he is distracted. While Rods recovers from the heavy blow, Banks flees once more. In the end, Banks has no other option but to face Rods hand-to-hand. Then he reunites with his daughter, but Banks is not willing to give up, so he goes out looking for more fight. However, Rods eliminates him using the motorcycle and a flare. With the money, father and daughter leave the area, now safe. Kim will no longer have to steal from stores now that they have made a good profit from their days in the woods.
If you want interesting movie recaps, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.